Hello again, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble a tailor sleeve for coat or jacket, and I have to say it's a special demand from Samir, and it's a real pleasure to do it. So here's my two-piece sleeve with the Tailor vent. If you notice, I did put fusible at the sleeve head, all the armhole, the slit, and the hem. For the hem, it does help keeping it in shape since we're not going to top stitch or do any kind of hem. Okay, so my corners are done on both pieces. Now I'm going to do the ease at the elbow, so it's on the back seam of the big piece between the notch. I'm going to start at the top notch, and you do that seam about 1 millimeter inside the normal seam allowance to make sure it's hiding. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your finger just in the back of the foot and hold it as much as you can until the bottom notch, and you cut your thread. So what it does, it's making a wrinkle to the fabric. It's not permanent, so if you did too much, because of your fabric it did too much, it goes away very easy. There's nothing there. It's only wrinkling the fabric, but evenly. So then you could sew your sleeves together. So when your back seam is done, you see the ease, you could see the ease over there, but usually on the other side you don't see nothing, but it does help to give the 3D to the elbow. So what you're going to do now, you're going to go press your seam open. So I did my pressing, and here's the little shifting of the seam allowance I was talking about. So you just let it go. Don't notch because you're going to make your garment weaker there. So you press your seam because it's the hardest one of the two seam. It's the hardest one to do. So you do it while it's open. And same time you do press your hem and your corner. Make sure everything is okay. Next seam, the second seam, we're going to put it face to face again and start, of course, unfolding the hem. Start at the bottom and go all the way to the top. There's nothing special to that seam. So we could go press that seam right now, but before I like to do my tacking right away. So open the seam. This is the last seam that I did. Open the seam, fold at the notch, and grab two seam allowance of the same piece of fabric, the two seam allowance, and you tack the hem. Because remember, no top stitch, no hemming, so you have to hold it. So it's the seam allowance of the same piece, and you just tack. So when I open, when I open, it's already old and it's attached. So there's the pressing to do, and of course we have to do the sleeve head to make it a nice shape and ease in all the excess that I have in the sleeve head. Good tailor, depending on the size of course, but they could have up to 4 centimeters, even more ease. That's extra bigger than the armhole. the thing you should never do is stretch the armhole to fit the sleeve, because it will show, and that's not the effect that we want for sure. So, but I find this this trick, it doesn't come from me, it's a lady that was doing that. She was using like thick wool or even fleece, thick fleece, cut on bias, to ease in the sleeve head, and it does both. It does ease in, and it does the little cushion that you need to keep it together. I think this is much easier, less manipulation, and the effect is perfect every time. So that's what I'm going to use. Hopefully you do have notches in your armhole. I do have notch over here. I have my sleeve head notch matching the shoulder, and I have another one over here. The ease should be distributed on about, I would say about 10 centimeters on each side of the center line or the shoulder line. If you have a little more, it would be on the back. So I cut my stripe of wool or thick fabric about 2.5-3 centimeters wide, but on bias, so it's stretched. So if I stretch it, you see, but it comes back. That's what's going to create your ease. So you're starting, if you do have notch, you could start at the notch. You put your bias right next to the seam line. You're gonna try to stitch at 9 millimeters so it doesn't show from the outside. So a millimeter inside. If it does show, you could always remove after. And what you do is you stretch, you start tacking, okay, and you stretch your bias as much as you can all around the sleeve head. So pretty easy. The manipulation with the bias, it's a little harder to achieve, and the result, I would say, you cannot tell from the outside. Oops, alright, so that's enough. I'll cut the excess, and now we're going to go at the iron, see what we're going to do with the ease. I'm going to turn my sleeve inside out. I tell you now, hopefully my iron is going to go okay. Already, I almost have the ease in because my seam allowance goes square. And when you get that, it should fit in the armhole without no pulling, no stretching. So I almost got it right away just by pulling. If you need some more, you could always stretch opposite direction of your bias. It's going to create some more ease. And what we're going to do, we're going to go to the iron and give some steam and play with it with the fingers so there's no pleat. Alright, so I'm going to show you the steaming part. So I put my sleeve head over the ham, and I'm going to just steam. Hopefully it won't go into the camera. I'm going to steam it just to make it hot and a little bit humid. And you work it with your finger to make sure that there's no pleat, but that the fiber of the fabric goes closer to each other. Don't press, because the crease that you will do, they won't go away. So it's only steaming, and that should do the job. Okay, so here I'm back on the sewing machine. So I'm going to take my sleeve and my jacket also, and I'm going to set in the sleeve. So from inside, like that, And for this one, I have an underarm panel, a side panel. My notch is right there, disappear a bit. And I have my underarm notch on the sleeve also. So I'm going to put them together, and that's where I'm starting my seam, right at the underarm. I'm going to sew my sleeve with the sleeve on top. I know some people, they sew it the other way around, but for me it depends more on the style or what kind of sleeve I'm sewing. For tailor sleeve, I'd rather put it on top and make sure that there's no ease, so I don't have to unsew or fix anything. Also, I'm doing it over because I want to see the seam I already did and make sure I cover it. So, starting at the underarm, I'm going to do my seam. If you notice also, I'm not a pinning person. I usually go from one reference to the other. That's why notches are so important. So I'm going to sew, matching, and you have to also know your pattern, how many notches you have to fit together. So one, and I'll just make it more clear for you here. So from my underarm notch to my first armhole notch. So they're very short distance. I think pinning the armhole wouldn't allow me to manipulate my sleeve the way I want it to. So notch to notch. Okay, I'm at the notch right now. I'm going to check for my next reference notch. So I have another one right there, matching with this one on the sleeve. This and this. So it could just continue. And this time I make sure that I stitch like a millimeter further than the one I have on my bias. So my following reference is the seam, the shoulder seam. So shoulder seam with shoulder seam. Oh my god, it does fit. Yes, it does. And I'm gonna go to my next reference. So I have one right there, should be matching with this one right here. Yep. So same time, where you have more ease, you just make sure with your finger you touch to make sure that there is no pleat. And I usually don't back tack at the beginning or at the end. I just go over where I start for a few centimeters, and it does the job, and it's not bulky or anything. Let's look at the result. So if you notice, the ease is in, no pleat at all. So the only thing you have left to do is steam again, pushing, I'm going to go inside, pushing all seam allowance towards the sleeve, at least at the sleeve head. So you push them all towards the sleeve. This is going to make the little cushion to keep the bump of the sleeve head. So all the seam this way, and you steam, you work your sleeve also. Et voila. So I hope it helped you with your project. And a special bye-bye to Samir. Bye.